Rain hammered against the windshield as Damien Cross navigated his Tesla through the winding mountain roads of Colorado. The tech mogul had built his empire from nothing, creating revolutionary AI systems that transformed global communications. Yet tonight, driving home from another late board meeting, he felt the familiar weight of loneliness pressing against his chest. "Daddy, can we stop for ice cream?" Luna's voice drifted from the back seat, her 8-year-old imagination already moving past the storm outside. "It's past your bedtime, sweetheart," Damien replied, glancing at his daughter through the rearview mirror. Luna had inherited her mother's striking blue eyes and intuitive nature. Since Rachel's death in a car accident 2 years ago, Luna had become his entire world. The little girl pressed her face against the window, watching lightning illuminate the dark sky. "Daddy, something bright is falling from the clouds." Damien looked up through the sunroof, but saw only storm clouds. "Just lightning, Luna. Nothing to worry about." But Luna's eyes remained fixed on something he couldn't see. "No, Daddy, it's different. It's calling to me." Before Damien could respond, a brilliant flash of blue light erupted across the sky. The light was unlike anything he had ever witnessed, pulsing with an otherworldly energy that made his expensive car's electronics flicker and die. The engine cut out completely, leaving them coasting down the mountain road in eerie silence. "What the hell?" Damien muttered, fighting to control the steering wheel as they rolled toward the guardrail. The Tesla came to a stop, just feet from the edge of a steep cliff. Damien's heart pounded as he turned to check on Luna, but she was already unbuckling her seatbelt, her eyes wide with excitement rather than fear. "We have to help her, Daddy." "Help who?" Damien asked, but Luna was already opening her door. Through the rain, Damien could make out a figure lying motionless about 50 yards ahead on the asphalt. A woman with long, dark hair spread around her like a halo. She wore a strange, form-fitting suit that seemed to shimmer even in the dim light. "Luna, get back in the car," Damien commanded. But his daughter was already running toward the woman. Cursing under his breath, Damien grabbed his phone, relieved to find it still working despite the earlier electromagnetic pulse. He called 911. While chasing after Luna through the downpour, the woman who fell from heaven, when Damien reached them, Luna was kneeling beside the unconscious woman, her small hand resting on the stranger's forehead. The woman appeared to be in her late 20s, with flawless olive skin and features so perfectly symmetrical they seemed almost designed rather than born. "Luna, don't touch her. She could be injured," Damien warned, but as his daughter's hand made contact, the woman's eyes suddenly opened. They were the most extraordinary eyes Damien had ever seen. Deep violet in color, with flecks of silver that seemed to move like liquid mercury. The woman looked directly at Luna and spoke a single word in a language that sounded like music. "Starling." Luna smiled as if she understood perfectly. "I'm Luna. This is my daddy, Damien. We're going to help you." The woman struggled to sit up, wincing in pain. Her strange suit had several tiers, revealing skin that glowed faintly in the darkness. "I should not be here," she whispered in accented English. "It is dangerous." "You're hurt," Damien said, kneeling beside them. "The ambulance is coming. Just stay still." But the woman shook her head frantically. "No hospitals. No authorities. Please." Her violet eyes locked onto his with desperate intensity. "They will find me if you take me there." "Who will find you?" Damien asked. Before she could answer, Luna spoke up. "Her name is Celestia. She's from very far away, and she's scared." Damien stared at his daughter. "How do you know her name?" Luna shrugged with the casual logic of childhood. "She told me. Not with words, but I heard her anyway." The woman knew. Luna called Celestia managed to stand, though she swayed dangerously. "Your daughter has a gift," she said softly. "She can hear thoughts when they are shared with love." "That's impossible," Damien said, But even as the words left his mouth, he remembered countless times when Luna seemed to know things she shouldn't, when she would answer questions before he asked them. Celestia touched Luna's cheek gently. Nothing is impossible when hearts are pure, little starling. The decision that changed lives. The sound of approaching sirens echoed through the canyon. Celestia's face filled with panic. Please, I cannot let them find me. Your world is not ready for what I am. What are you? Damien asked, though part of him already suspected the answer would shatter everything he thought he knew about reality. Daddy, we have to take her home, Luna said, with the certainty only children possess. She needs us, and we need her too. Damien looked between his daughter and this mysterious woman who had literally fallen from the sky. Every rational part of his mind screamed that this was insane, that he should wait for the paramedics and let proper authorities handle whatever was happening. But Luna's hand slipped into his, and he felt something he hadn't experienced since Rachel's death, a sense of rightness, of destiny aligning. Can you walk? He asked Celestia. Relief flooded her extraordinary features. Yes, if you help me. Supporting Celestia between them, they made their way back to the Tesla. Miraculously, the car started on the first try, though the dashboard continued to flicker. With residual electromagnetic interference as they drove toward Damien's mountain estate, Luna chatted easily with Celestia, asking questions that any normal 8-year-old would ask a new friend. What was her favorite color? Did she like animals? Where did she live before? Celestia answered with gentle patience, though Damien noticed she avoided specifics about her origins. Through the rearview mirror, he watched the two of them together, and felt something stirring in his chest, something warm and protective that extended beyond just his daughter. Secrets in the mountain. Home Damien's estate sat on 200 acres of pristine Colorado wilderness, surrounded by natural barriers. That provided complete privacy. The sprawling modern house featured floor-to-ceiling windows that normally offered breathtaking views of the Rocky Mountains, though tonight they only revealed darkness and rain. Welcome to our home, Luna announced as they entered through the main foyer. Daddy built most of it himself after Mommy went to heaven. Celestia paused at the mention of Luna's mother, her violet eyes finding Damien's. I am sorry for your loss, she said, and something in her voice suggested she understood grief intimately. Thank you, Damien replied, surprised by how much comfort her simple words provided. He led them to the main living area, where a massive stone fireplace dominated one wall. Celestia moved carefully, clearly still in pain from whatever had happened to her before their encounter. Let me call my friend Vincent, Damien said, pulling out his phone. He's a doctor, and he's discreet. He can check your injuries without asking too many questions. I do not require medical attention in the way your people understand it, Celestia said, but I would welcome the kindness of rest and safety. Luna curled up on the couch beside Celestia, naturally gravitating toward this stranger as if they had known each other for years. Can you tell us where you really came from? She asked with innocent directness. Celestia was quiet for a long moment, her fingers absently stroking Luna's hair. I come from a place between your world and others, she finally said. A place where different kinds of people learn to live together. Like aliens? Luna asked excitedly. Luna, Damien warned, but Celestia smiled. Yes, little starling. Like what your people call aliens, though we prefer to think of ourselves simply as neighbors from distant stars. The casual way she said it sent shivers down Damien's spine. This woman was actually admitting to being extraterrestrial, and somehow it felt more natural than shocking. Are there others like you on Earth? He asked. Some, Celestia admitted. We have been watching your species for generations, learning about your capacity for both creation and destruction. I was part of an advanced team, studying your technological development. And something went wrong, Damien guessed. Celestia nodded. My ship was damaged during entry into your atmosphere. The others in my team believe I was lost. They will eventually come looking for me, but until then, I am stranded in your world. Luna's eyes sparkled with the excitement of a grand adventure. You can stay with us. Daddy has lots of room, and I can show you all my favorite places. Luna, it's not that simple, Damien began, but Celestia's expression stopped him. You would do this? She asked. Shelter someone you know nothing about? Someone who could bring danger to your family. Damien studied her face, noting the vulnerability beneath her otherworldly beauty. This woman, alien or not, was alone and afraid in a strange world. More importantly, Luna had already claimed her as family with the instinctive certainty that children possessed about people's true nature. Everyone deserves a chance at safety, he said finally. And Luna seems to think you're meant to be here. Celestia's violet eyes filled with something that looked suspiciously like tears. Your daughter is wise beyond her years. She understands connections that most adults cannot see. As if to prove the point, Luna yawned and snuggled closer to Celestia. I'm sleepy, but I don't want to go to my room. Can Celestia sleep in the guest room next to mine? Of course, Damien said, realizing that his carefully ordered life had just taken a turn toward the impossible. But first, let's get you both something to eat. As he moved toward the kitchen, Damien caught sight of his reflection in the dark window. For the first time in 2 years, he looked like a man with purpose rather than just survival. Whatever Celestia truly was, whatever complications her presence might bring, she had already given him something precious. She had brought wonder back into his daughter's eyes, and hope back into his own heart. Sunlight filtered through the massive windows of Damien's estate, casting rainbow prisms across the hardwood floors. He had barely slept, his mind racing with questions about the extraordinary woman now residing in his guest room. Every rational thought told him he was harboring a dangerous delusion, yet something deeper whispered that his life had finally found its true direction. The sound of Luna's laughter drifted from the kitchen, followed by a melodic voice he was already beginning to recognize. Damien found them sitting at the breakfast bar, Luna perched on a stool while Celestia stood at the stove, somehow managing to prepare what looked like perfect pancakes, despite claiming to be from another world. Daddy, look. Celestia makes pancakes. That tastes like starlight, Luna announced, syrup dripping from her chin. Starlight has a taste? Damien asked, accepting the plate Celestia offered him with a shy smile. Everything in the universe has its own flavor, Celestia explained to her, violet eyes sparkling with amusement. Starlight tastes like hope mixed with ancient songs. Damien took a bite and was stunned by the complex sweetness that bloomed across his tongue. It was unlike anything he had ever experienced, as if the pancakes contained actual sunshine and distant music. How did you do this? He asked. Your daughter requested something special, Celestia said simply. Love always finds a way to create magic. Luna beamed at this explanation, but Damien noticed something else. In the morning light, Celestia's injuries from the night before had completely vanished. Her skin held a subtle luminescence that made her appear almost ethereal, and when she moved, there was a grace that defied normal human physics. We need to talk, he said quietly, glancing meaningfully toward Luna. Celestia nodded. Luna, would you like to explore the gardens while your father and I discuss grown-up matters? Can I visit the horses? Luna asked excitedly. Stay where I can see you from the window, Damien instructed, and Luna mounted outside with the boundless energy of childhood. Revelations that shatter reality once they were alone. Celestia's demeanor shifted subtly. The playful warmth remained, but underneath it, Damien sensed ancient wisdom and carefully controlled power. You have questions, she said, settling gracefully onto the couch. Just a few thousand, Damien replied, sitting across from her. Let's start with the basics. Are you actually an alien? The word alien suggests something foreign and threatening, Celestia said thoughtfully. I prefer to think of myself as a bridge between worlds. My people call ourselves the Luminari. We are descendants of an ancient civilization that learned to travel between stars long before your species developed written language. And you're here to study us? Initially, yes. Earth has reached a critical point in its development. Your technology advances rapidly, but your wisdom struggles to keep pace. The Luminary Council sent teams to observe and, if necessary, intervene, to prevent your species from destroying itself. Damien felt a chill run down his spine. Intervene how? Nothing dramatic, Celestia assured him quickly. Small adjustments. A breakthrough here, a technological failure there. Just enough to nudge humanity toward making better choices. You're manipulating our development? We are protecting it, Celestia corrected gently. Your species has incredible potential, Damien. We have seen civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy, but few possess the unique combination of creativity, compassion, and determination that defines humanity at its best. Through the window, they could see Luna running through the garden, her arms spread wide as she pretended to fly. Something about the sight made Celestia's expression soften with profound tenderness. Your daughter is special, she said. She possesses abilities that should not manifest in a human child for at least another century of genetic evolution. What kind of abilities? She can perceive thoughts and emotions when they are freely shared. She can sense the true nature of living beings. And if I am correct, she may eventually develop the capacity to influence reality through focused intention. Damien's protective instincts flared. Is she in danger? Not from me, Celestia said firmly. But there are others who would see her abilities as either a threat to be eliminated or a resource to be exploited. The emergence of children like Luna is one reason my team was sent to Earth. There are others like her, scattered across your world, yes. Usually the children of parents who have been exposed to certain electromagnetic frequencies or cosmic radiations. Your late wife, Rachel, worked in atmospheric research, did she not? Damien's blood ran cold. How do you know about Rachel? I have access to your planet's information networks in ways your current technology cannot detect. I researched your family after Luna demonstrated her abilities last night. Rachel's work exposed her to unusual solar radiation patterns during her pregnancy. That exposure activated dormant genetic potentials in Luna. You're saying my wife's death somehow gave Luna superpowers? I am saying your wife's life's work helped create something beautiful and unprecedented. Luna represents the next step in human evolution, but she is not alone, and she is not unnoticed. Dangerous discoveries before Damien could process this. Information fully, his phone rang. Dr. Vincent Hayes' name appeared on the screen, and Damien remembered asking his friend to come check on their mysterious guest. Vincent, thanks for coming so early, Damien answered. Damien, we have a problem. Dr. Hayes' voice was tight with concern. There are government vehicles surrounding your property. Black SUVs, the kind that don't officially exist. I'm parked about a mile down the mountain road, and I can see them setting up some kind of perimeter. Damien felt his stomach drop. How many? At least 6 vehicles that I can see. They're not making any effort to hide their presence. Celestia had gone. Very still, her violet eyes now blazing with alarm. They found me faster than I expected, she whispered. Who found you? Damien demanded, but she was already moving toward the window where Luna played innocently in the garden. Government forces that track unusual electromagnetic signatures, Celestia explained rapidly. My ship's crash landing would have registered on their monitoring systems. They will want to capture me for study and interrogation. And Luna? If they discover her abilities, they will take her too. Damien's world tilted sideways. In less than 24 hours, he had gone from grieving widower to harboring an alien refugee to having his daughter marked as a government target. "Vincent, how long do we have?" he asked into the phone. "They're moving slowly, probably scanning the area. Maybe 10 minutes before they reach the house." Damien ended the call and looked at Celestia. "Options? I can surrender myself and hope they leave you and Luna alone," she said, though her expression suggested she doubted this outcome. "Not happening," Damien said firmly. "What else?" Celestia was quiet for a moment, clearly weighing difficult choices. "There is a way, but it would change everything for your family." "Tell me." "I can extend my natural shielding to include both of you, but it would require a deep psychic connection. We would become bonded in ways that your language has no words to describe." "Bonded how?" "Our thoughts, emotions, and life forces would be permanently intertwined. You would gain some of my abilities, and I would become as mortal and vulnerable as you are. It is not a decision to make lightly." Through the window, Damien watched Luna chasing butterflies, her laughter carrying on the morning breeze. The idea of government agents taking his daughter filled him with a rage so pure it surprised him. Would it keep her safe? Yes, but Damien, you must understand. This bond cannot be undone. We would be connected for the rest of our lives, sharing everything. Joys, sorrows, fears, love, everything. The rumble of approaching vehicles reached them from the valley below. Damien closed his eyes and thought of Rachel, wondering what she would want him to do. The answer came immediately and clearly, as if she were standing beside him. "Protect our daughter, at any cost." "Do it," he said, opening his eyes to meet Celestia's gaze. "The bond that transcends worlds, are you certain?" Celestia asked, stepping closer to him. "This will change the very essence of who you are." "I'm certain." Celestia nodded solemnly and placed her hands on either side of his face. Her skin was warm and seemed to pulse with gentle energy. "Think of Luna," she instructed. "Think of your love for her, your desire to protect her. Let that feeling fill every part of your being." Damien focused on his daughter, on the fierce protective love that had sustained him through the darkest days after Rachel's death. As the emotion swelled within him, Celestia's violet eyes began to glow with soft light. "Now think of me," she whispered. "Not as a stranger, but as someone you would trust with your life and Luna's future." This was harder, but as Damien gazed into those extraordinary eyes, he found himself thinking of the gentleness with which Celestia had treated Luna, the vulnerability she had shown, despite her obvious power, the way she had brought wonder back into their lives in a single night. Trust bloomed in his chest, followed quickly by something deeper and more complex. The beginning of love. The moment that emotion crystallized, light exploded between them. Not painful, but overwhelming in its intensity. Damien felt his consciousness expand beyond the boundaries of his individual mind, touching something vast and warm and utterly alien, yet completely familiar. Through the connection, he experienced fragments of Celestia's memories. Worlds of crystal cities reaching toward binary suns. Councils of beings whose wisdom spanned millennia. The loneliness of being chosen for a mission that meant leaving everything familiar behind. And underneath it all, a growing attachment to Earth and its chaotic, beautiful, impossible inhabitants. At the same time, he felt Celestia experiencing his own memories. The joy of Luna's birth, the devastating loss of Rachel, years of building his company while trying to fill the void in his heart. The moment last night when he had looked at a strange woman lying in the rain and decided to trust his daughter's instincts. When the light faded, they were still standing in his living room, but everything had changed. Damien could feel Celestia's presence in his mind like a warm current, and he knew she could feel his as well. More than that, he could sense Luna outside, her bright spirit shining like a beacon of pure love and curiosity. "The shielding is in place," Celestia said, though. He heard her voice both aloud and directly in his thoughts. "They will not be able to detect any of us now." Through the window, they watched black SUVs pull up the driveway. Men in dark suits emerged, carrying scanning equipment that beeped and whirred as they approached the house. "Stay calm, Celestia," murmured, taking his hand. "To them, we will appear as a normal family dealing with a routine investigation." The lead agent knocked on the front door with the kind of authority that expected immediate compliance. Damien squeezed Celestia's hand and went to answer it. "Mr. Cross?" "Agent Rebecca Stone, Department of Anomalous Phenomena. We're investigating unusual electromagnetic readings from this area. Mind if we ask you a few questions?" Agent Stone was a sharp-faced woman in her 40s, with calculating eyes that missed nothing. Behind her, 3 other agents stood ready, their hands resting, near concealed weapons. "Of course," Damien said, projecting calm confidence. "Though I can't imagine what kind of anomalies you'd find up here. We lost power briefly during last night's storm, but that's hardly unusual. Any unusual lights in the sky? Objects falling from the clouds?" "Just lightning," Damien replied. "My daughter thought she saw something interesting, but you know how kids imagine things." Agent Stone's gaze shifted past him to where Celestia stood in the hallway, Luna now beside her after coming in from the garden. "And you are?" Stone asked. "Celestia. Diana Costa," Celestia replied smoothly, her accent now perfectly American. "I'm Damien's neighbor from down the mountain. My cabin lost power during the storm, so he kindly offered me a place to stay until the utilities get restored." Through their mental connection, Damien felt Celestia projecting a subtle influence over the agent's perceptions. They saw exactly what she wanted them to see, a normal family dealing with storm aftermath. Agent Stone's scanning device remained silent as she swept it around the room. Whatever exotic energies Celestia naturally radiated were now completely hidden behind their shared psychic shield. "We'll need to search the property," Stone announced. "Standard protocol for this type of investigation." "Help yourselves," Damien said. "Though I should warn you that my horses don't much like strangers." The agents spent the next hour combing through every inch of the estate. They found nothing because there was nothing to find. Celestia's crashed ship had apparently dissolved, itself according to some kind of fail-safe protocol, leaving no trace of its extraterrestrial origins as the government vehicles finally departed. Damien felt a profound mixture of relief and trepidation. They had passed the first test, but he understood that this was only the beginning. "What happens now?" he asked Celestia as they watched the last SUV disappear down the mountain road. "Now we learn to be a family," she replied, her mental voice warm with affection and possibility. "And we prepare for the larger challenges ahead." Luna, oblivious to the danger they had just navigated, tugged on Celestia's hand. "Diana feels like a silly name for you. Can I still call you Celestia when we're alone?" "Always, little starling," Celestia said, kneeling to hug the child who had somehow brought them all together. Always. Through their bond, Damien felt the depth of Celestia's love for Luna, and beneath that, the growing warmth of her feelings for him. Whatever trials lay ahead, they would face them together as an impossible but undeniable family, bound by love that transcended the stars themselves. 3 weeks had passed since the government raid, and life at the Cross estate had settled into a rhythm that felt both natural and surreal. Celestia, now living under the identity of Diana Costa, had seamlessly integrated into their daily routine. She helped Luna with homework, prepared meals that somehow always tasted like childhood memories and distant dreams, and spent long evenings talking with Damien about everything from quantum physics to the poetry of ancient civilizations. Yet beneath this domestic tranquility, Damien sensed growing tension in their psychic bond. Celestia's thoughts carried an undercurrent of worry that she tried to shield from him, but their connection made complete privacy impossible. "You're thinking about them again," Damien said, as they stood on the back deck, watching Luna practice her riding in the paddock below. Through their bond, he could feel Celestia's anxiety spike whenever she gazed at the stars. "My people believe I am dead," Celestia admitted, her voice carrying the weight of profound isolation. "The crash was violent enough that my ship's destruction would have appeared complete. But eventually, they will send a recovery team to investigate. How long do we have? Perhaps months, perhaps years. Time moves differently when you are watching from the void between worlds." Luna's laughter drifted up from the paddock as she successfully guided her horse through a series of jumps. The sound made both adults smile despite their concerns. "She's growing stronger," Celestia observed. "Yesterday, I found her telepathically communicating with the horses. They understand her intentions before she even gives physical commands." Damien felt a familiar mixture of pride and fear. Luna's abilities were developing rapidly under Celestia's subtle guidance, but he worried about the attention such gifts might eventually attract. "Dr. Hayes is coming for dinner tonight," he said, changing the subject. "He's been asking questions about you. Good questions, but persistent ones." Vincent Hayes had become a regular visitor to the estate, officially checking on Luna's health, but clearly fascinated by the mysterious woman who had appeared in their lives. As a man of science, he noticed details that others missed. The way Celestia never seemed to get sick, how plants flourished wherever she walked, the fact that electronic devices functioned more efficiently in her presence. "He suspects what I am," Celestia acknowledged. "His mind is too sharp to accept simple explanations indefinitely." Should we be worried? Through their bond, Damien felt Celestia's assessment of Dr. Hayes' character. Curiosity, yes, but also deep loyalty to their family and an ethical foundation that would prevent him from betraying their trust. "No," she said finally. "Vincent Hayes may become an ally we desperately need. Dinner conversations that change everything Dr. Vincent Hayes arrived precisely at 7, carrying a bottle of wine and wearing the slightly rumpled appearance of a man who spent more time healing others than worrying about his own presentation. At 52, he was Damien's oldest friend and the closest thing Luna had to a grandfather figure. "Something smells incredible," Vincent announced as Celestia greeted him at the door. "And I'm not just talking about dinner." Damien caught the subtle implication, but said nothing. Vincent had always possessed an uncanny ability to sense when people were harboring secrets. Over dinner, conversation flowed easily between topics ranging from Luna's academic progress to Damien's latest technological innovations. But Damien noticed how Vincent's attention kept returning to Celestia, studying her with the focused intensity of a diagnostician encountering an impossible patient. "Diana, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you have the most remarkable health indicators I've ever observed," Vincent said during dessert. "Your pulse rate, blood pressure, even your cellular regeneration rates are optimized in ways that should be medically impossible." Luna looked up from her ice cream with innocent curiosity. "What does that mean, Uncle Vincent?" "It means Diana is extraordinarily healthy," Vincent explained, his eyes never leaving Celestia's face. Almost as if she were designed by someone who understood human physiology better than humans do. The words hung in the air like a challenge. Damien felt Celestia's internal debate through their bond. Continue the deception or trust? Vincent with the truth that could either damn them or save them. "Luna, why don't you go practice your piano for a bit?" Damien suggested. "The adults need to have a boring conversation about medical stuff. Can I practice the song Celestia taught me?" Luna asked brightly. "The one that sounds like singing?" "Stars?" Vincent's eyebrows shot up at the name slip. and Damien realized the moment for half-truths had passed. Yes, sweetheart. Practice whatever makes you happy. Once Luna had skipped off to the music room, Vincent leaned back in his chair and studied both Damien and Celestia with calculating eyes. So, he said calmly, Diana Costa doesn't exist in any database I can access. Her medical readings suggest she's not entirely human. Luna has been demonstrating cognitive abilities that shouldn't manifest for decades. And you, my friend, have been broadcasting an electromagnetic signature that's completely inconsistent with normal human brain activity. Vincent paused to sip his wine before delivering his conclusion. Either I'm losing my mind, or I'm sitting at dinner with extraterrestrial life forms. The silence stretched for several heartbeats before Celestia spoke. You are not losing your mind, Dr. Hayes. The truth that binds over the next hour, Celestia shared an abbreviated version of her origins and mission. Vincent listened with the focused attention of a scientist confronting paradigm-shifting data, asking clarifying questions, but never expressing disbelief. The Luminari have been observing Earth for generations, Celestia explained. We are not conquerors or colonizers. We are gardeners, helping emerging civilizations navigate the transition from planetary to galactic consciousness. And Luna? Luna represents something unprecedented. The spontaneous emergence of advanced psychic abilities in human children suggests your species is evolving faster than our models predicted. She is not alone, but she may be among the first. Vincent absorbed this information with remarkable equanimity. What do you need from me? The simple question, offered without hesitation or judgment, made Damien understand why Vincent had been his closest friend for over 2 decades. Discretion, primarily, Damien answered, and possibly medical. Expertise if Luna's development creates complications we can't handle. Consider both provided, Vincent said immediately. Though I have to ask about the government agents who are sniffing around here last month. They found nothing because there was nothing to find, Celestia said. But they will return eventually. Agencies like theirs never truly close a file on unexplained phenomena. Then we need contingency plans, Vincent said pragmatically. Safe houses, alternate identities, medical facilities that can operate off the grid if necessary. Damien felt a surge of gratitude for his friend's immediate acceptance and practical support. Through their bond, he sensed Celestia's relief at finding another ally in their increasingly complex situation. The conversation was interrupted by the sound of piano music drifting from the next room. But this wasn't ordinary music. Luna was playing a melody that seemed to resonate at frequencies beyond normal human hearing, creating harmonics that made the wine glasses on the table vibrate sympathetically. She's not just playing the piano, Vincent observed with wonder. She's somehow channeling energy through it. They moved to the music room where Luna sat at the grand piano, her small fingers dancing across keys that produced sounds like crystalline waterfalls and distant stellar winds. Her eyes were closed, and she swayed slightly as if conducting an orchestra only she could hear. It's beautiful, Vincent whispered. It's also dangerous, Celestia said quietly. Music like that can be detected by sensitive instruments across vast distances. If my people are searching ... She didn't need to finish the thought. They all understood that Luna's extraordinary gift might also serve as a beacon that could attract unwanted attention. Gently, Celestia approached the piano and placed a hand on Luna's shoulder. The child's eyes opened, returning from whatever transcendent state she had entered. That was the most wonderful song, little starling, Celestia said. But perhaps we should save the cosmic symphonies for when we're sure no one else is listening. Luna nodded with the quick understanding that had become her trademark. I felt something listening while I played. Something far away, but coming closer. Through their bond, Damien felt Celestia's alarm spike before she carefully controlled it. What did it feel like? Celestia asked gently. Like someone calling my name from the stars, Luna replied. Someone who knows you, Celestia. Someone who's been looking for you for a very long time. The arrival of ancient guardians that night, Damien stood alone on his back deck, gazing up at stars that no longer seemed distant and cold. Through his bond with Celestia, he could sense her preparing for sleep in the guest room that had become her sanctuary. Vincent had driven home with promises to research discreet medical facilities and contingency plans. Everything felt balanced. On the edge of change, the first sign was a distortion in the star field directly overhead. Not a craft or light, but a subtle wrongness in the way starlight bent around a space that should have been empty. Celestia appeared beside him so quietly. He didn't hear her approach. "They have found us," she said simply. The distortion grew larger, and gradually a ship materialized out of what had seemed like empty space. It was beautiful in an alien way, all flowing curves and surfaces that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure light. It settled silently. In the meadow beyond the paddock, its presence somehow both magnificent and terrifying. "Should I wake Luna?" Damien asked. "She is already awake," Celestia replied. "She felt them coming before I did." Indeed, Luna emerged from the house in her pajamas, padding barefoot across the deck to stand between Damien and Celestia. She showed no fear, only the bright curiosity that defined her approach to all new experiences. A figure emerged from the ship, tall and graceful with features that echoed Celestia's ethereal beauty, but carried an additional weight of authority and age. This being wore robes that seemed woven from captured starlight, and when he moved, reality itself seemed to bend slightly around him. "Commander Nexus," Celestia breathed, and through their bond, Damien felt her complex emotions, relief, fear, love, and profound sorrow. The being called Nexus approached with measured steps, his ageless face revealing nothing of his intentions. When he was close enough for conversation, he stopped and studied the unusual group before him. "Celestia of the Third Harmony," Nexus said, his voice carrying harmonics that resonated in Damien's bones. "You have been mourned among the stars." "I live, as you can see," Celestia replied, unconsciously moving closer to Damien and Luna. "Indeed, but not as you once did." Nexus's gaze shifted to include Damien and Luna. "You have formed bonds with the local species, deep bonds that change the very nature of your existence." "I have found family," Celestia said simply. "You have found complications," Nexus corrected. "The Council grows concerned about the rapid development of psychic capabilities in human children. Some believe intervention is required to prevent chaos." "What kind of intervention?" Damien asked, stepping slightly forward, despite the vast power differential between himself and this cosmic being. Nexus studied him with eyes like captured nebulae. "You speak boldly for a primitive being who has existed for merely decades." "I speak as a father protecting his child," Damien replied evenly. "Which makes me more dangerous than you might expect." Something that might have been amusement flickered across Nexus's features. "Celestia has chosen her bonds well. This one has courage to match his ignorance." Luna, who had been quietly observing the exchange, suddenly stepped forward. "You're here to take Celestia away from us, aren't you?" Nexus knelt to bring himself closer to the child's eye level, and Damien felt power radiating from the being like heat from a star. "What I am here to do, young one, depends on what I discover about the true nature of these bonds you have formed." "Then look," Luna said simply, reaching out to touch Nexus's hand with the fearless trust of childhood. The moment contact was made, light exploded between them. Not painful, but overwhelming in its intensity. Through his bond with Celestia, Damien felt echoes of what Nexus was experiencing. Luna's pure heart, her extraordinary abilities, the deep love that connected their makeshift family, and something else. Something that made the ancient being recoil in wonder. When the light faded, Nexus remained kneeling before Luna, but his expression had completely changed. Wonder had replaced calculation, and something approaching reverence had entered his. Cosmic features. Impossible, he whispered. She carries the frequency of unity, the harmonic signature that our oldest prophecies describe as the bridge between worlds. What does that mean? Damien asked. Nexus rose slowly, his attention now focused entirely on Luna. It means this child is not simply evolving beyond human limitations. She is becoming something entirely new. A being capable of truly connecting different species across the galaxy. Is that good or bad? Luna asked with typical 8-year-old directness. It is unprecedented, Nexus replied, and therefore both wonderful and terrifying to those who prefer predictable futures. He turned to Celestia. The council will want to study her. Some will want to take her to our homeworld for proper training. Others will argue that she should be left to develop naturally. And what do you want? Celestia asked. Nexus was quiet. For a long moment, his gaze moving between the three beings who had somehow formed a family unit that defied every classification in luminary culture. I want to understand how love can create such powerful evolutionary leaps, he said finally. And I want to protect that process from those who would seek to control or exploit it. Then stay, Luna said with a simple logic that had brought them all together. Stay and learn with us. We have lots of room, and Daddy makes really good coffee. Through their bond, Damien felt Celestia's shock at the child's invitation. Asking a luminary commander to abandon his duties and live among humans was roughly equivalent to asking the president to become a kindergarten teacher. But Nexus surprised them all by laughing, a sound like distant music that made the very air around them shimmer with joy. Young Unity Bearer, he said to Luna, you may have just proposed the most revolutionary idea in galactic history. The family that defies the stars. As dawn broke over the Colorado mountains, an impossible scene unfolded in Damien Cross's backyard. A human tech billionaire, an alien refugee, a psychically gifted child, and a cosmic commander sat around a picnic table sharing coffee and pancakes while discussing the future of interspecies relations. Dr. Vincent Hayes had arrived early for what he assumed would be a medical emergency, only to find himself being introduced to actual extraterrestrial royalty, with the casual ease of a suburban barbecue. So let me understand this correctly, Vincent said, stirring his coffee with the methodical precision of a man trying to process impossible information. Luna is evolving into some kind of galactic ambassador. Celestia is permanently bonded to your family, and Commander Nexus is considering deserting his post to study the power of human love. That is a remarkably accurate summary, Nexus confirmed, seeming genuinely impressed by human analytical capabilities. And the Luminary Council's response to all this will be? Divided, Celestia answered. Some will see opportunity. Others will see threat. All will see unprecedented change. Luna, who had been quietly feeding bits of pancake to a squirrel that showed no fear of the assembled cosmic powers, looked up with sudden intensity. More ships are coming, she announced. Lots more. And they don't all feel friendly. Through their bond, Damien felt Celestia's immediate spike of alarm. Nexus rose smoothly, his casual demeanor replaced by the focused alertness of a military. Commander, how many? Nexus asked Luna with complete seriousness. Luna closed her eyes, extending her consciousness in ways that still amazed Damien. 7 ships. 3 feel like yours, Commander Nexus. 4 feel different. Colder. They're coming from different directions, but they'll all be here soon. Council forces and opposition factions, Nexus said grimly. Word of my disappearance has reached the homeworld faster than I anticipated. What does that mean for us? Damien asked. It means the debate about Luna's future is about to become very real and very immediate, Celestia replied. And some of those debating will see her as a threat to be eliminated rather than a gift to be nurtured. Vincent, who had been quietly processing the escalating situation, suddenly spoke up. How long do we have? Perhaps an hour, Nexus estimated. And we need to move fast. Vincent pulled out his phone and began rapid-firing text messages. I've been preparing for this possibility. There's a private research facility in the mountains, completely off-grid, that can house all of us safely while we figure out long-term solutions. You would do this? Nexus asked, studying the older human with renewed interest. Risk your own safety for beings you barely understand? Commander, with respect, you clearly don't understand humans very well yet, Vincent replied. We may be primitive by your standards, but we're absolutely fierce when it comes to protecting our families. And this little girl has become family to all of us. Luna beamed at this declaration, her joy radiating through the psychic bonds that connected them all. Even Nexus seemed affected by the child's pure happiness. Very well, the Luminary Commander said formally. I place myself under your protection and guidance. Perhaps it is time for the teacher to become the student. As they quickly gathered essential items and prepared to evacuate, Damien found himself marveling at how completely his life had changed. 3 weeks ago, he had been a grieving widower focused solely on raising his daughter in peace. Now he was part of an interspecies family fleeing cosmic politics, while protecting a child who might hold the key to galactic harmony. Through their bond, he felt Celestia's love for him growing stronger with each shared challenge. What had begun as a desperate alliance for survival was becoming something deeper and more profound than either of them had expected. Whatever happens next, he said to her, as they loaded the last supplies into his vehicle, we face it together. Together, Celestia agreed, her violet eyes shining with determination, and hope. Luna bounced between them, practically vibrating with excitement rather than fear. This is going to be the best adventure ever, she declared as they drove away. From the estate toward an uncertain future, Damien caught sight of the first distant glints of approaching starships in his rearview mirror. The child who had changed everything sat between him and the woman who had become his heart, chattering happily about all the new friends they were going to make. Love, it seemed, really could conquer anything, even the vast emptiness between the stars. The convoy of one human vehicle and one luminary ship disappeared into the mountain wilderness, carrying within it the seeds of a new kind of family that might just change the future of two civilizations. Behind them, the sky began to fill with ships from across the galaxy, all drawn by the unprecedented signal of a human child, whose heart beat with the rhythm of universal harmony. The real adventure was just beginning. The end